What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I'm here today with another review for Married at First Sight Season 16, Episode 14. The episode was titled The Rope, the Feather, and the Bidet. So, but before we go ahead and get into this review, you guys, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel, and you guys aren't yet subscribed yet, then do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. Do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and sharing the video. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's discuss Married at First Sight, shall we? All right, you guys, so before we just go ahead and just jump into the episode, I do want to talk about the fact that in this particular episode, all of our couples are going to be talking to Dr. Pia, right? So she's going to be paying each couple a visit, and some of these conversations, I was like, okay, I can get it. And some of them, you guys know, I'm still just not feeling some of these couples, right? But we're going to go in order of my notes. So the first couple we have up is Nicole and Chris, right? So the episode opened and we saw Nicole and Chris as they were doing something together, right? They were going to do a renovation of their apartment, upgrade their amenities, right? So they upgraded their amenities by putting a bidet in the toilet. And I was like, okay. I mean, the craziest thing is I've never experienced a bidet. I have never experienced one. I just feel like it's gonna, is it like anybody who knows, like the water, like, is it like, how does it, I know it sprays it, but is it like pressure, like let me know in the comment section if you guys have used a bidet, right? So they put the bidet together. They both individually tried out the bidet. Now, here's the thing that threw me for a loop when, Nicole was like, you want your tushy to be clean. It's, if we're getting intimate, I was like, your tushy, granted, you don't want to go to the bathroom and then get in the mood and then, we're not going to get that graphic, right? But I was just thinking to myself, like, so have y'all done some ANAL stuff? Because that's what it was given to me, but I don't think so. Or maybe not, who knows? Doubtful. So we see Dr. Pia, right? So Dr. Pia talked to them. She says, she knows, we all know about Nicole and Chris, right? And they've had sex. But she also asked them, have they both had a negative impact in past relationships when sex has been involved, right? Y'all know how I feel about Nicole and Chris when it comes to their past. That everything that comes up is a trauma bonding situation, right? But we know that Chris said in his past that sex was the part of the relationship I think that was the only part of the relationship that the girls cared about. Now, no shade to Chris, by no means, right? I'm not trying to say it's in a shady way. But Chris don't give that he just, just putting it down in the bedroom. That's just my personal opinion, right? So then Nicole talked about the fact that when she was in her situation is kind of similar to Chris's, but not exactly, because she felt like she was having hate sex. Jesus. Like, how do you have sex with a person and you don't like them, right? I've never experienced hate sex, because that's just interesting to think about it, right? That you are having sex with someone, but you don't necessarily like them. That's not satisfaction. I wouldn't even feel satisfied after that. I would be like, God, I just literally sat here and had sex with a person that I just don't fucking like, and why did I do this? In that instance, I would say go get a toy. And I think there's one thing that I would say Nicole probably needs to do: find the self-love in herself, right? Because I don't think that it's not that she doesn't love herself, but I think her confidence in herself is very low, right? So Dr. Pia also asked, she asked about foreplay, right? Nicole says that she would like it a little bit more than what it is, right? They do it, but it's not that frequent, right? So Dr. Pia asked Nicole, is she a people pleaser? I said, absolutely, she's a people pleaser. But at the same token, Chris is a people pleaser. The only time in this season so far that we've saw that Chris was a people pleaser was with the dogs. But other than that, I do believe that they're both people pleasers, and I think that, and I've said it multiple times, and I will continuously say it, I feel like Nicole and Chris both bend to what the other person wants in the relationship, and it's not necessarily good for either one of them. So later in the episode, we see as the experts have left a treasure chest for them with a bunch of sex toys in it. I was like, do y'all think this? Well, it had lube and all that kind of stuff in it. I'm like, do y'all think this is something that Nicole and Chris need? It's fine to explore your sexuality and find things that, there are different things that you might like inside the bedroom, right? But as far as Nicole, like I said, I think Nicole needs to experience herself first, right? Figure out what Nicole likes and what Nicole doesn't like. Because I think that thing for me that really blew me with that, not really blew me, it just kind of struck a chord with me, was the fact that she had hate sex. Like, I just can't imagine, like, so you're just laying there with somebody, having sex with them, and oh, Jesus. That is brutal to me. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. So we're going to pause here and move forward. Next up, you guys, is Gina and Clint. So Dr. Pia paid Gina and Clint a visit. There are so many things that I can say when it comes to Gina and Clint, and the biggest one is Gina is nowhere near attracted to Clint. So Dr. Pia asked Gina and Clint, how are they getting along? Oh, we're getting along well, right? And for me, I feel like with Gina and Clint, I think Gina and Clint basically go along just to get along through this process because there's nothing there. I don't even know if I can say that there's a friendship between Gina and Clint, because I don't see anything there, because Gina is very distant from Clint. And dare I say it, I'm growing to like Clint. Dare I say it, right? So they also said that they don't feel connected as a married couple. So Dr. Pia, she questioned, like, why don't y'all feel connected as a married couple? Dr. Pia, I'll answer that question for you. Because Gina is not sexually, physically, any kind of attraction. She has no kind of attraction to Clint whatsoever. That's the issue. So Dr. Pia questions them about sex, right? Basically, from what I gather from Gina and Clint, they have sexual needs and desires, just not for one another. And I think it's more so on Gina and not Clint, right? So it sounds like maybe they are pleasuring themselves at this point, because they damn sure ain't doing it to one another. So, talking about sex grossed Gina out. I'm like, the only reason why it's grossing Gina out is because Gina, once again, is not interested in Clint in that way. So the same way I feel about Eris hits from the streets, same way I feel about him when it comes to Jasmine. I wish he would I wish he wouldn't stop trying to string Jasmine along. I feel the same way about Gina and Clint. At this point, it just feels like Gina is stringing Clint along. And you guys can let me know what you think down in the comments section, right? So she also says she has no desire to talk about sex with Clint. No shit, Sherlock. So she was talking about the fact that she doesn't believe Clint has swag. That one I have to agree with Gina on. Clint has no swag, right? And, so Dr. Pia wants for them to, do an exercise that basically I think is like simulating touch. Good luck with that one. But they did do that exercise later in the episode, right? Now, I'm going to give Gina one valid point that she made about Clint. Clint's haircut. I just really want Clint to go to a stylist, get his haircut. Don't go to Gina. Get your haircut and have it styled, right? Because Clint probably would look, he's not a bad looking guy, right? I think Clint should go for a shorter hair. Like, I can see Clint with a very short, short and gelled out hairstyle. I mean, that's probably gonna look like something from the 2000s, but I can see Clint rocking short hair. The long hair is just not really doing it, because no shade to you, Clint, but you look a little homeless, buddy. Just saying. So we then see them as they're doing this exercise, and it was kind of uncomfortable listening to Gina and Clint talk about it more specifically, because we know that Gina's not interested in Clint, right? So they talk about what is a safe word, right? A safe word for them is stop. go away. I don't want to do this. That's what a safe. That's the best safe word I can come up for those two, right? So then they talk about sending news. Clint says he sends news. She said, so you send a dick pic? He says, no, it's not a dick pic. I guess Clint gives y'all a whole view of the aerial view of the body, baby. I ain't hating on it, right? So then he asks her, she asked him what's a must, right, for him when it comes to sex. He said that a must for him is that his partner climaxes. I was like, wow, you very rarely hearing that. You very rarely hear, most times when you think about men and having sex with a woman, most times men don't care about a woman having an orgasm. It's always about the man getting his, right? So then he asked her what her favorite sexual position was, and she said, too much, too much, too much. Once again, Gina, please tell this man you don't like him in that way, shape, form, or fashion. I want her to say that. But let's pause here, and we're going to move forward. All right, you guys, so next up is Jasmine and Hits from the Streets, right? This is part of the episode where I kind of got a little bit annoyed because, as I've stated multiple times before, when it comes to Hits from the Streets, he does a very, very good job. When it comes to the experts, he does a very good job of talking to them, be like, oh yeah, I want to work on this with my wife. I want to do this with my wife. But once they're gone, it's back to who he is, right? So Dr. Pia asked him, how's it going? I say it's going to hell in a handbasket, right? She asked, can it change? I say, hell no. She asked, I don't know if she was talking to both of them or she was just talking to Jasmine, but she said, are your needs met? Jasmine said no, and I said right along with her, fuck no, right? So there's a friendship between these two, right? But the thing that blows me, if there's a friendship, then like he makes up all these excuses about why. It's just, he gets on my nerves. And you would think that he's just the finest thing walking, but he's not. So he makes so many excuses for why things aren't happening in their relationship. Like I said, when it comes to the experts, when the experts are around, he has so much clarity about why, me and my wife not doing this because of this. He has so much clarity and so much insight when the experts are there. But when the experts are not there, there's no clarity, there's no insight. He is basically just making Jasmine feel less than, right? So Dr. Pia asked Jasmine, is she holding off in a relationship? And I was like, I don't think Jasmine is holding off in a relationship. I think Jasmine is just straight up closed off in this relationship. Like, he's not giving her anything. He's not making her feel wanted. He's not making her feel, beautiful, attractive. He's not doing any of those things when it comes down to Jasmine. And that is frustrating, right? So I love the fact that Jasmine called out what I just said, right? The fact that whenever the experts are around, he knows what he needs to do to try to make this marriage work. But then once they're gone, it's not the switch just turns off. Like he's doing what he has to do to get through. And so Dr. Pia said, well, how do you feel about that? It turns me on. I was like, nigga, bullshit. Don't turn you on. So then later in the episode, we saw them as they were cooking together, right? So he told Jasmine that he spoke with her sister. So her sister had told Hits from the Streets that Jasmine shouldn't have to do anything for you to woo her, to show that you love her, right? Well, he doesn't love her or even have love for her, like for her, anything. She shouldn't have to try to force that out of you, pull that out of you, anything like that. You should want to show that. But again, this is going to go to a point that, came up. This is going to go back to what I said previously. Eris does things because people tell him to do it, number one, right? Like I said about Gina and Clint, it's going along to basically get along, and it's just really frustrating to me. And Jasmine called that out because he told her sister, that he clapped at the wedding because Pastor Cal told him to. I was like, wait a minute. He frustrates me, and I really just want the experts to just step in and say something or do something, because like Come on now. Like, I know y'all see that this woman is a shell. Y'all, like, this is giving me Olajuwon and Katina vibes, right? Not as bad, but it's really because when we saw Katina in what season was Katina? Katina was season 14, right? When we saw Katina in the beginning of the season, Katina was one way, but by the end of the season, she was disheveled and she was a shell of herself. Again, I don't know Paige and Chris, so I can't speak on Paige and Chris, but it's just something that I just wish the experts would step in because she's very clearly miserable. Clearly miserable. Like, it's miserable. But let's pause here and move on to the next couple. Kirsten and Shaq, you guys. So we see that Kirsten is at home by herself because Shaq was going to Memphis, right? Because he had to do some working, right? So he tells her. So we see them as they're on FaceTime. He's telling her about the trip, how productive it's been, and she's like, "Well, I wish I could be there." She really has a lisp. She has a lisp. She said she wishes she could be there, right? I was like, really? Because later in the episode, Shaq was telling us that he told Kirsten about it. He wanted Kirsten to come, but she had already made other plans and didn't want to go with him, right? Now, I will say, in her defense, it depends on, I mean, let's just say, well, I can see a little bit of both sides, right? It depends on when he told her that he was going on this trip, right? And if she had already had those plans set in place, so that could be another thing. Now, if he told her when the plans were, and she made them knowing where he was going, then yeah, that's a little janky, right? So Dr. Pia visited them and asked them how are things. Kirsten says things are going good, right? She says the quality time is working for her. So Dr. Pia says, Shaq, how about you? He says it's been rocky for him. I was like, really? It's been rocky for him, right? Because let's go back to the episode where they did the painting. They were in a good space. That's why I can't read Kirsten and Shaq, but I damn well sure can tell you that I'm pretty positive these two are going to say no on decision day. And if they say yes, I will be slightly surprised. I will be calling me confused as shit, right? But I will be surprised if these two say yes. So he says that they're basically still learning each other, and he's trying to find a balance with his working. And she's a realtor. He does his stuff, so he works and he's in school. So he's just basically trying to find a balance there, right? So Dr. Pia asked him if they talk about what attracts them to each other. Kirsten, the thing that you said attracts you to Shaq was bullshit. So she was like, when we moved in and he picked up my stuff, that's what attracted me to him. And because it just showed that he was it was all talking about masculinity. So Dr. Pia asked her, so do you think that Shaq is masculine? So she paused and she kind of started smirking and laughing. And I'm like, girl, just be straight up and say, no, I don't think he's masculine. Which let's be real about Shaq. Is Shaq masculine? He presents himself as masculine, right? But he does have a softer side to him. And I think that might be perceived as, quote unquote, feminine, right? But he's very masculine. He's just a softer guy. Is there anything wrong with that? No. And I didn't like how Kirsten was doing it, right? It was basically emasculating this man. And you're basically playing into, now, I've talked about it, is really kind of playing into what people say about Shaq on social, that people believe he's gay or bi or something, right? And it's not because of, now I say it not because of his mannerisms. It's some other stuff that I've saw that just kind of makes me question it just a little bit. I ain't saying that he is, and I'm not saying that he's not, right? I'm just saying that I don't care about his mannerisms. I'm just saying that I've saw something on social media that kind of begs the question of, could he be, right? And I'm not gonna get too deep into what I've saw, but I've saw something that kind of, makes me think, maybe there is something there. I don't know, right? But I just don't like the way that she did that. Again, is he a masculine guy? Yes, he is. He's just a softer guy. And the thing that kind of annoyed me with Kirsten was the fact that I feel like she wants to compare him to her father. Your father and Shaq are two different people. This is the second episode where you talked about what your dad did, what your dad did. He is not your daddy. And I feel like she probably has some father, some daddy issues. I know she said that, she has a great relationship. I know she probably has a great relationship with him, but I still think you got some daddy issues, right? I think your issues stem from your parents getting a divorce. And I think that she has not worked through that. That little girl in her has not worked through that. And so I think she is looking for that in her husband. And it's not cool, right? I don't like the fact that she keeps comparing him to her father. So, yeah, like I said, and then I'm looking at my notes, you guys. So in my notes, it says the fact that when they were talking to Dr. Pia, throughout the conversation, she had a smile on her face, and it was just bothersome for me, right? And even Dr. Pia called it that she wants him to be like her dad. That is absolutely what it is. And yeah. So then they did an exercise. So they had the blindfolds on, right? So Shaquille had the blindfold on Kirsten, and he basically was telling Kirsten like to follow the sound of his voice, right? So he gave her an instruction. So she had to go to the washing machine, or she went to the dryer, right? So she opened the dryer, and there was a rope in there. So he kind of wrapped the rope around her, and he says, do you have any control? She says no. And then she said that they kind of turned her on a little bit. I'm like, girl, a lie don't care who tell it, but okay. A lie don't give a damn who tell it. So he then told her when they went to the room that, they basically need to work on their communication, and that when he was in Memphis, he really wanted her to be there. But we've already had that conversation where now this goes back to when she knew he was going to Memphis. Because like if she had set something up for herself to do, and she had already done it before, and it was something that she had to pay for to reserve your spot or something, then I wouldn't be upset about her going. But it is what it is with these two, right? So let's pause here and wrap this episode up, you guys. All right, so guys, so we see as the guys and the girls have split up, right? So the guys went to a baseball field. I was slightly surprised. I was expecting the worst person to be Shaq, right? I was expecting Shaq to be the worst person in the baseball, but the worst person I was expecting Shaq to be opposite of what Clint was. I was expecting Shaq to not, be the most athletic, right? Because again, this part has nothing to do with masculinity. He just doesn't give an athletic vibe, right? Neither does Chris, to be quite honest with you. Chris nor Shaq give me athletic. Hits from the streets and Clint are the only two guys that give me like they have some athleticism to them, right? So I wasn't expecting for Chris. Actually, let's backtrack. I wasn't expecting for Chris or Shaquille to be doing good with the baseball, right? But they did really good. The person who sucked was Clint. So then we see the ladies as they went to go make cocktails, right? So they all sit down and they start talking, right? So Chris was talking about the fact that with Nicole, she has some issues that she needs to work through. And that's why I keep saying over and over that I just feel like Nicole needs to go seek therapy, right? Because there's some deep-rooted issues with Nicole that I think she just needs to work out within herself. So then Nicole is talking about the fact with Chris, yes, he tells her that he hears her, right? But she wants for Chris to tell her to talk things out. And I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that, right? So then we talk about Shaq and Kirsten. So he's talking about their relationship. So Eris is like, so since we're on the baseball field, what base are you guys on? He says second base. I was like, really? You're on second base? If you say so, right? So then Kirsten is talking about, she's working herself up and she wants her Shaq to take the lead. Kirsten is a very big contradiction, right? At the wedding, she wanted him to ask her to kiss her, right? But she wasn't going to kiss him. Like everything that she says she wants for him, it's always like you want him to do this and that, but you give nothing back in return. So I just don't understand Kirsten. I truly do not understand Kirsten, right? So then we get hits from the streets and Clint, right? Now remember, these two men are the most sexual on the cast. These two men are the only ones who had sex before they got married. And I have not forgot that, right? But one of them is withholding sex from their wife. The other one, his wife, is withholding it from him. And that is, Clint. Gina don't want to have sex with Clint on any day, given day, good, bad, or indifferent. So then we talk about, we move over to Jasmine. You guys, like I said before, I am really, really over seeing Jasmine broken because it just seems like she's a shell of herself. It seems like she's defeated, and I'm not liking. I don't like to see this. It bothers me. Like, I just don't like seeing her in this position when it comes to this egghead ass man who thinks Eris just thinks he's so fine, right? He's talking about he's been in relationships before where he might not have been physically attracted to them, but what did he say? Because I didn't quote it, right? He might, oh God, he's just getting on my nerves. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on, share the video, you guys, and until the next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next